Hey guys, it's me about Carpet Vanguard deck profile. So if you guys enjoyed, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. And sorry, this time we are covering one of the biggest decks for DZ set 8, and that is Blangdmire Nexus from Dark States. So this set, the long-awaited Fatal 1-0 Blangdmire, the main antagonist of Season 1, finally got an evolution and an amazing debut fight in the anime to go along with it. And today we're going to cover that deck because honestly, Blangdmire Nexus is a very solid grade 3, and I can't wait to show off this list. So let's get this started. First today we have our energy generator. It's our ride deck crest. You may have ride crest in your ride deck. Auto ride deck, when you ride, put this card into your crest zone, and if you win a second, you get to energy charge 3. You can have up to a total of 10 energy, and at the beginning of your ride phase, you energy charge 3 more, and act once per turn, energy by 7 to draw a card. All around pretty solid. You get a free 3 energy every turn. If you win second, you get an extra 3 on top of that, and if you have a total of 7 energy, you can energy by 7 on them to draw. In this deck in particular, you don't want to end up in the situation where you have to use that draw skill, because there's a very good card in this deck that does use up energy to basically pressure out your opponent, but if you do have to use the energy to use the draw skill, it's not the end of the world, it's just not preferred to. Moving on, we have our starter in Cavity Magilia. Grade 0 boost, 5k shield, 6k base. You can make this any starter you want. None of the ride line requires Cavity Maglia, but I choose to make it this unit because it's the canonical starter for Blangdmire, therefore he's here in the ride deck. Following that, we have our triggers, starting off with the over trigger of Terrifying Wicked Dragon King Vampires. Grade 0 boost, 50k shield, 5k power. You may only have one over trigger in your deck or revealed as a trigger. Remove that card, draw a card, choose one use, give it +1 million for the turn. If revealed it during a jet check, activate its a dish effect, which you get you, the player, during your turn. All your vanguards get 10,000 power and +1 critical until the end of this fight. All around this pretty solid because every single time your turn comes around, once you drive check this, your vanguard will always be a base power of whatever it is plus 10,000 in a critical, meaning it will always have crit pressure and always guarantee the force on an extra 10k from your opponent's hand, which could end up causing a domino effect which wins you the game. Our on Van Freeze is a very solid over trigger to have as it allows consistent pressure throughout the game. Once you do drive check it, you can make this vulnerable for consistent multi-attacking or the dark over trigger for consistent multi-attacking as well and healing, or even as foil for recycling and crit pressure, but I prefer Van Freeze because it's the most long-lasting effect of the game, so one of Van Freeze. Following that, we have our normal triggers, starting off with 3 copies of Huckle Hustle, grades of boost, 50k shield, 5k base. So it's a normal front trigger. You can use this as whatever trigger you want. You want to use a draw trigger to help increase the hand, go ahead. I choose to make it a front trigger because Blangdmire tends to run into deck out problems when you start getting to late game with draw triggers, so I'd rather just have the front trigger and go all in from the get-go. If you do end up making this a front trigger, I recommend you make it Diablo's Girl's Natali, who basically is the same thing as Huckle Hustle, but she gets an extra 5k shield when your opponent's vanguard's a grade 3 greater. The reason why I'm not running her is because she is a Diabolus unit, and I don't like running archetypal cards outside of their archetype deck. So I have a 3 vanilla front here, but again, I recommend using Tali if you do run a front. Then I have a total of 8 crit, 4 of them being Direful Doll Bethany, grades of boost, 5k power, 15k shield. You can make this any crit you want. I chose to make it Bethany because it's in the DZ set start deck where Ursa Largest is from, and those triggers are the quote-unquote canonical triggers of their respective faded ones, which in this case would be Blangdmire, so that's why Bethany's here. Following 4 copies of Stem Deviate Dragon, grades of boost, 15k shield, 4k base, auto rear guard, and then about that he boosted, shove the soul, and choose a music, give it 2k for the turn. I highly recommend you do run Stem Deviate in here. That 2k most of the times will make a difference. It's mainly here for soul because this deck can go through a lot of soul really quickly, especially because this version of the deck isn't super soul charge heavy like the last time I used Blangdmire, so I definitely recommend you run Stem Deviate just in case to make sure you always have 4 soul available. And finally, of course, we have 4 heals in Joyful Songster, grades of boost, 50k shield, 5k base. You can make this any heal you want. I'm supposed to make a Songster because just like Bethany, it was in the trial deck with Ursa Largest, therefore it's in the canonical heal trigger of Blangdmire, so that's why it's our 4 of. On to our normal units. Starting off, we have 3 copies of Steam Fighter Uranash, grade 1 boost, 5k shield, 8k base, auto input on guard circle. If your vanguard's a grade 3 or greater Blangdmire, soul boss 1 until end of that battle. This unit gets continuous when it be retired from guard circle, bind it face down instead of retiring it, and it gets 10k shield. So cool. It does eat into the soul, which is a little bit annoying because Blangdmire does want to soul boss pretty much 4 cards always, but on the bright side, even though you are losing out on the soul, at least it's still binding itself, so if you need to skip to your divine skill next turn, you can straight up do that, and it'll make itself a 15k shield when you do that ability. All around, very solid grade 1 to have, get you bind zone, get you extra shield power, offer to soul blast 1, so again, even though it does eat into Blangdmire soul cost a little bit, at least you're still getting a bind out of it, so solid 3 of. Next up, we have 4 copies of Invoke Alchemist, very solid grade 1 and pretty much a staple for Blangdmire. Grade 1 boost, 5k shield, 8k base, continuous rear guard circle. During the battle that it boosted, if your vanguard's a grade 3 or greater Blangdmire, regardless of who he's boosting, he'll be an extra 5k power, so which means he'll be a 13k base no matter who he's boosting as long as your vanguard is a Blangdmire. And the second skill, auto rear guard, when he boosts specifically a grade 3 or greater vanguard of Blangdmire in the card name, he'll get an extra 2,000 power for that battle, so in total he'll be a 15k booster. And if your binds on his form are face down cards in it, by counterblasting 1, you choose one of your front or rear guards and stand it, and if your binds on has 8 or more face down cards in it, it gets an extra 15k for that turn as well. Arm pretty solid because not only does it initiate multi-attacking for only a simple CB, which granted is a very heavy resource in this deck, but still only costing 1 CB to do that is great. But once you have the 8 or more cards in your bind zone, that unit gets an extra 15k on top of it, plus possible persona rides, triggers, boosts, whatever other buffs you can think of, makes for a pretty good beat stick, especially if it's your one that has applied crit pressure. Our Evoke Alchemist is really solid, gets you multi-attack for very cheap cost, possibly adds numbers to it, and is a consistent 13k booster, if not a 15k booster, once you're at your Vanguard. So obviously it's an easy 4 and you always want to shove it behind the Vanguard circle. Next up, we have 4 copies of literally one of Blangdmire's most incredible support cards ever. Like, it's honestly up in the air between this and Invoke Alchemist. Like, they're both really solid. Anyways, Elaborate Wizard, grade 1 boost, 5k shield, 8k base, auto and placed on rear guard circle from the hand specifically, because there's a very certain card in this deck that can call from soul, and obviously we can't use that for this. And there's also Blangdmire Nexus can call from bind zone. So specifically when it's placed from hand, look at the top 2 cards of your deck, choose one card from among them, put it to soul, and put the other at the bottom. So downside is you are forced to put a card into your soul. Upside is you get a free card to soul, because this ability has no cost to it, and unlike every other single Blangdmire support card, this is not tied to your Vanguard being a Blangdmire. Meaning, if you want to 8k rush your opponent's Vanguard on grade 1 turn to pressure them, you can. Which all around makes for a very solid grade 1, especially because like right before Blangdmire Nexus was revealed, a lot of people were complaining about Blag being too slow because all of his support cards required him as the Vanguard. Well, there you go. There's a card that doesn't 100% require it as a Vanguard. As for second skill, it does actually require Blangdmire as a Vanguard circle. Auto rear guard at the end of the battle that boosted anything. If your Vanguard's a grade 3 grade of Blangdmire, counterblast 1 and choose a normal unit from your soul, put it to your hand, and bind this unit face down. So again, it does eat into the soul of Blangdmire a little bit, but again, it binds itself face down just like the grade 1 did from before. So it still gets you your trigger for Blangdmire's divine skill, and it gets you a normal unit to your hand, which is great because it's your way to cycle back PGs or any important grade 2 and or grade 1 units you saw along the way, or my personal favorite, yeet back a Nexus that you sent to soul via its own ability. Very solid grade 1 all around. It basically sets up your soul for its own skill. It does it for free, and then for a simple CB, you can bounce anything from your soul to your hand, whether it be for offensive purposes or defensive purposes, while still getting you a bind out of it. All around, amazing grade 1 for Blangdmire, easy 4 of. Next up, we have 4 copies of our PG and Ridicule Disruptor. Grade 1, boost, 0 shield, 6k base, continuous sentinel, drop 4 sentinels in deck, and all its put on guard circle. Choose on units, it cannot be hit in the battle. If your hand, stream more cards in it, choose a card from your hand and discard it. Standard PG, nothing to express about it. Basically, that means if this only one of the cards in your hand placed on guard circle, you don't have to discard, which is great, because that means to be super aggressive in the early game. Call 2 of these to the sides, call this to the back row center, bully down your opponent, and then your opponent does eventually counterattack you for being a little bit too aggressive. Throw down Ridicule Disruptor when you have low hand cards, give them middle finger, be good to go. All around, very solid PG to have. You can make this card Reskill a Hate Dragon or a Pallid Malice Dragon, because they have the exact same skill as Ridicule Disruptor. I choose to make it Ridicule Disruptor, however, because it came out close to the time of Blangdmire's original release, so easy 4 for me. As for our last grade on the deck, it's a 1 of in the red deck and none in the main deck of Hollow Raptor. I really love how this thing is not a raptor at all. It's literally just a bird with a unicorn horn with amazing like eyes printed on its wings. Grade 1 boost, 5k shield, 8k base. All done rolled upon by Vacant Fang. Reveal the top 3 cards of your deck to your opponent. Put all of the grade 1 or greater cards into your soul from among them and put the rest on the bottom. And if you put 2 or more cards from the soul, draw a card. Unfortunately, the consistency with this deck is if you whiff off of Hollow Raptor, you probably lose the game on the spot, because you probably don't have enough soul to use Blangdmire twice to its full potential, which means at some point along the line, you're going to have a few little 2 numbers and it's going to domino affecting to you losing. So essentially off of Hollow Raptor, you want to hit at least 2 grade 1 to grade, which is weird because you would think that also whiffing Vacant Fang will make the difference. But no, even whiffing Vacant Fang, as long as you hit Hollow Raptor, you're fine. So just make sure you hit Hollow Raptor's skill. I know it's hard. You got to like pray to God that you see everything that isn't a trigger. But I mean, still being able to get any grade 1 or greater card into your soul, which then turns into a toolbox for, you know, Wizard over here is great. And again, if you do put 2 or more cards in soul, you draw a card. Only downside is it puts all the cards that are put soul on the bottom. So if you're seeing a bunch of triggers, well, screw you. But thankfully, this deck has a bunch of cards I can shuffle the deck, so it's not the end of the world. All around, very solid grade 1 to have in the ride deck. Has the potential to get you a lot of soul, but also is the Harbinger of Death if you whiff it. So one of them in the ride deck of Hollow Raptor. Next up, we have our grade 2s, starting off with 3 copies of Crying Crow's Vartak. Grade 2 intercept, 5k shield, 10k base. Continues if your Vanguard's a grade 3 grade Blangdmire and your binds on its form or face down card. So this card gets literally all the following abilities. Continues rear guard, can't be chosen by your opponent's card effects. So it can be mass hit, like say for example your opponent Bath Sagas your front row, okay, because it's not choosing, it's just hitting everything, then it would die, but otherwise they can't choose it. Continues rear guard, it gets boost, so it's a 10k booster once you just have any 4 cards face down in bind zone, and then continues rear guard to guard, so it gets an extra 5k power and 5k shield active on player's turns. So once you get 4 or more cards face down in bind zone, it's untargetable, it's a booster, and on top of that, it's a 15k base, 10k shield. Honestly, the only thing missing from making this card really good is the ability to intercept from back row. But to be fair with you, that would make this card a little bit too good. So Very solid grade 2 all around. You can early call this down just to pressure down your opponent with a 10k, and if they don't kill it, well, it's going to end up biting the mouse in the late game. Not to mention the fact that once the late game or mid game even comes around, it's going to be a 15k booster, and if you keep it in hand, it's a 10k guard. So not a bad grade 2 at all. Allows for a little bit of early game pressure without having to worry about missing out on too many skills, and if it stays around for a late game, well, your opponent's pretty much not going to get rid of it, so it's a solid 3 of. Next up, we have 4 copies of Steam Raider Zamug. This is the amazing grade 2 I was talking about earlier that pretty much you was required as a 4 for Blangdmire. Grade 2 intercept 5k shield, 10k base, auto and placed on rear guard circle. If your vanguards are grade 3, go to Blangdmire. Counter +1 and reveal the top 3 cards of your deck. Put any number of cards among those cards into your soul and shuffle the deck. If you put 1 or more, you may draw a card. So cool. Not a mandatory draw, so if you're afraid of decking out, you don't have to do that. You also don't have to put any cards in soul, but if you put at least 1 of them, you do get a draw, so that's pretty solid as well. And it gives you any card into soul. So worst case scenario, if you really need that draw and you flip over 3 triggers like I did one time, you can send one of those triggers to soul and draw a card. Though I would not recommend you do that, because the time I did that, I saw 3 crits and then I put them all back. That same turn, I then sacked all 3 crits again, and then I took a look at my deck. The next 2 cards were also crits. The amount of times this deck has consistently flipped over double crits on its second grade 3 turn is insane to me, but whatever. Anyways, the second skill is auto rear guard. When it attacks into anything, whether it's a vanguard or rear guard, as long as your vanguard's a grade 3 grade of Blangdmire, doesn't matter what grade the opponent's vanguard's at, and this unit's critical is 1 or less, energy blast 3 to give it 5k power and +1 critical for the battle. Cool, so it's swinging for at least a 15k double critical, which doesn't sound like a lot. Give a booster behind it, 23k, literally triggers, persona rides, whatever behind it, it's going to be swinging for a lot more, and if you did the turn your divine skilled, well, up your opponent's PGs. All around Zamug, really great grade 2. Get you soul cards for simply a CB, possibly get you a draw out of it as well. Can be placed from anywhere by that ability, so it procs really well with our next grade 2 and our really amazing main grade 3. And not to mention the fact that he applies crit pressure literally regardless of what grade the opponent's vanguard's at, as long as he doesn't have an extra critical inherently. Very great grade 2 to have in the deck. Easy 4 of. Following him, we have 4 copies of Bedrock Dragon. Grade 2 intercept 5k shield, 10k base. Auto don't place on rear guard circle by any means other than during the battle phase. Again, so via either its own ability or via Nexus over here, you can soul charge 1. Cool. Downside is a mandatory soul charge. Upside is it's a free soul charge. Then, by counterblasting 1, you can choose a grade 2 less card from your soul with a different card name from himself, call it to rear guard circle, and if you have a vanguard without Blangdmire in the card name, at the end of the turn, put the card unit to soul. So, you don't have to CB to call something if you don't want to, but if you want to get an extra rear guard on the board, there you go. CB1, call the rear guard. And you can even pull it off while you're on grade 2. Just keep in mind the fact that since your vanguard's not going to be a Blangdmire, the unit's going to go back at the end of the turn, but if it is a Blangdmire, we'll get to stay on board. As for the second skill, continues rear guard during your turn for every 4 face down cards you binds on, he gets 10,000 power. So at 4, he's at a 20k base. At 8, he's at a 30. At 12, which is very consistent with this deck and easy to hit, he's at a 40. Plus Persona Ride, 50, plus just a regular 8k booster, 58 with Blangdmire Nexus skill, 63 without triggers. This grade 2 is incredible. It hits numbers so quickly, it gets you free soul to use Blangdmire more consistently, not to mention the fact that he can call stuff from soul in the early game to help bully down your opponent, or just wait till you're at Blangdmire to help have a consistent board presence. This grade 2 is just good. It's straight up solid, and there's no reason there shouldn't be at least a 3 of in your deck, but honestly, it's worthy of the 4 of, because again, resource management well, board presence, really big beat stick the longer the game goes on. Great card. As for our last grade 2, it's in the ride deck and none copies in the main deck of Vacant Fang. Grade 2 intercept 5k shield, 10k base. Auto and wrote upon by a grade 3 card with Blangdmire in this card name. Reveal the top 3 cards of your deck. Put all grade 1 or greatest from among them to soul and shuffle the rest back into deck if you put 2 or more draw cards. So literally the exact same thing as Holoraptor, except all the cards get shuffled instead of getting sent to bottom, and you still get the draw card. Weirdly enough, again I say, I don't get it, but apparently if you whiff Holoraptor, you auto lose the game, or at least when I play this deck. But I can whiff Vacant Fang and I could still win as long as I didn't whiff Holoraptor. It doesn't make sense to me how that's the case, because they literally have the exact same skill, but whatever. 1 of Vacant Fang in the ride deck, none in the main deck because it has no rear guard skill, but this at best case scenario can get you a free 3 soul charge, which could technically turn into a 3v bind, which will go off in a second, and not to mention that to get you a hand card as well if you send at least 2 cards, so it's a solid 1 in the ride deck, but none in the main deck. Moving on to our grade 3s, we have 4 copies of Single Strike Shatter Colossus, grade 3 Generic Persona 13k base. I'm starting to feel like the deck is more like combo heavy with Colossus, because Colossus was a really great card for Blangdmire, but it was kind of RNG based on if you would get it to soul or not, and now this deck, I don't know, feels like it has like a lot of options to do that while you're on a Blangdmire. So Vacant Fang can do it, Bedrock can do it, Steam Raider Zamu can do it, Elaborate Razor can do it, like pretty much all of the cards that needs to support it can somehow get Colossus into soul while you're on grade 3 to proc off its ability. But starting off with its first ability, Auto Rear Guard when it attacks into a Vanguard, regardless of its grade, as long as your binds on its form or face down cards in it, you may have this unit get 10,000 power for the battle. If you do at the end of the battle, put this unit to soul. So a 23k swing against a probably 10k Vanguard, pretty solid, and he can send us up to soul at the end of the battle. Why you want to do that? Because when he's put into soul by your card's ability with an auto, if you have a Vanguard that's grade 3 greater Blangdmire, bind the card face down, draw a card. So it puts itself right to bind zone, increasing Blangdmire's divine skill chances, and you get your free hand card as well. Very solid, grade 3 to have, and again, that ability procs regardless of how it's put into soul. So say, for example, you free soul charged off Vade Rock, as long as you're on a Blangdmire card, its ability is going to proc. You flip it over on Vacant Fang, its ability is going to prop. Zamug, Elaborate Wizard, etc. Its ability is going to proc, as long as your Vanguard's a Blangdmire. Very solid ability all around, get you bind zone cards, get you hand cards, and worst case scenario is a 23k swinger, and this is your best way to turbo out your Blangdmire Nexus skill on your first grade 3 turn. You can do this on your first grade 3 turn if you want to change the deck build a little bit, but it's still possible to do it on your first grade 3 turn even with this deck build, but it would be easier with a different deck build. But 4 single strike Shatter Colossus, very good for numbers, bind itself face down for hand cards, just good 4 of. As for our main grade 3, because we're going to go over our right deck grade 3 last, 4 copies in the main deck of One Who Walks from Zero, Blangdmire Nexus. For some reason, up until I saw the anime episode, I genuinely thought like this on his back was a cape. Turns out that's actually Blangdmire's wings, because I forgot Blangdmire is a raven. Grade 3 turns out Persona 13k base. Continues Vanguard Circle. This unit is also regarded as Fated 1 of 0 Blangdmire. During your turn, if your soul has a copy of this card in it, this unit gets all of the divine skills, and all your front and rear guards get 5,000 power. So here's the important thing to know. Because of this regarded as 0 thing, that means this unit can Persona Ride on top of and Persona Ride to OG Blangdmire. Basically, if you want to put OG Blangdmire on top of this, Persona would activate, and vice versa. So, cool, that's established. Then, if there's another copy of either this unit in your soul or itself, so either Blangdmire Nexus or Fated 1 of 0 Blangdmire in your soul, it's at least going to get the divine skill of the OG, but even if it's not the OG in soul, your front row will still get 5k as long as one of these two are in soul. As for its second skill, Act Vanguard once per turn. This cost may be paid by binding a grade 3 or greater card Blangdmire and its card name from your soul face down, bind 4 cards from your soul face down, or again, bind a grade 3 greater Blangdmire. Your opponent then chooses 2 of the rear guards, binds them face down. This unit gets 5,000 power for every 2 face down cards you bind zone, and then you can do one of the following. You either choose up to 1 face down card from your bind zone and reveal it, and if you're to reveal grade 3 or less, you call it to rear guard circle, or if you do not reveal a card, you may draw a card. So either get your rear guard or it gets you a hand card, not a mandatory hand card either. So if for some reason you don't want to get a rear guard, you don't have to. If you don't want to get a hand card, you don't have to do that either. But it's basically OG Blangdmire's skill during the main phase, which is great because that means, you know, you can set up this skill almost immediately. Very solid, gets rid of your opponent's rear guards. It has an alternate pay cost for a Soul Blast. It still gets the same amount of power and bind cards that OG Blangdmire would get, and it also gets you an extra rear guard on top of it, and because you're getting the power before you call the rear guard, if you're at like a flat 12, then you're going to get the plus 30k from Blangdmire Nexus first before you get the superior call, even if it brings you down to 11 cards, or again, you get a free hand card out of it. All around, very solid, grade 3. Gets really good numbers, procs off Divine Skill, pumps up your front row a little bit, and screws over your opponent's board all in one full swoop just during the main phase alone. So all 4 copies of Blangdmire Nexus in the main deck. As for last card in the deck, we have 1 of in the red deck, none in the main deck, because with Blangdmire Nexus running around, you don't need this in the main deck. Fated 1 of Ziddle, Blangdmire. Grade 3, turns out Persona 13k base. Auto Vanguard, when he attacks into Vanguard, bind 2 or more, up to 4 cards from your soul face down to draw a card. You don't have to draw a card if you don't want to. It's a May clause, so if you're afraid of decking out, don't do it. But if you bound 4 or more cards for this ability, your opponent chooses 2 of the rear guards, binds them face down, and this unit gets 5,000 power till end of battle for every 2 face down cards in the bind zone. So again, it's literally basically the same skill as Blangdmire Nexus over here, but specifically during the battle phase, and you can bind at least 2, but at most 4, and you may draw a card, but you don't get a rear guard call. As for the second skill, the divine skill, the part that we want to know about, Auto Vanguard, at the beginning of his guard step during the battle that he attacked, if your binds on his 8 or more face down cards in it, you may have this unit get a critical for the turn. If you do, your opponent cannot call or play sentinels from the hand until end of this turn, and choose on your opponent's vanguards until end of their opponent's next turn. All of the unit's abilities are nullified, and so is your opponent's. Personage will activate. Basically, he has crit pressure, he's probably swinging for really big numbers off his first skill, and your opponent can't PG him nor the other units on your board for the rest of the turn, and during your opponent's next turn, unless your opponent rides to a new unit, not only will their vanguard not have any skills, but any skills that the player themselves inherited, say for example they inherited their overtrigger ability, that won't proc off either. I mean, once the turn ends, obviously the abilities will return, but until then, that's screwed over. And that also means Twin Drive as well. well. So the Vanguard had twin drive, it goes down to single drive. All around, very solid. Crit pressure with already inherently really big numbers, screws over Sentinels for an entire turn, not to mention the fact that it allows you to nullify your opponent's abilities and basically make it so that they do live to the next turn, they're probably not killing you. Very solid, great to have, but again, because Nexus pretty much does everything this guy does, but a little bit better, we choose to have played one of 0 Blangdmire as a 1 of in the ride deck and have just 4 copies of Nexus in the main deck to help even it out for numbers. And without further ado, that's it for this one. I hope all of you guys enjoyed. Honestly, this deck is very fun to play. There is a version of this where you can put Blangdmire Nexus into the ride deck and then basically focus on getting your Divine Skill off on your first grade 3 turn. How consistent that is, I don't know. I haven't play tested the deck yet. I just know it exists. But if you are interested in seeing that one, by all means, comment down below and I will do a deck profile on it. Either way, though, I hope you guys enjoyed. That's it for this one. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, join us for Twitch. I'll see you all then. Don't forget to set up your Vanguards.